Hi, I'm Lynn, and I'm going to tell you why Shopify is the worst thing ever. So imagine that you have, wait, hold on. Imagine that you have stuff on a site. So this is your website, right? Yeah. Web. Okay, and on your website you have a home page, right? So this is the home page. Home page. Also, there's children screaming at the top of their lungs outside my window. But okay, so then on each page you're gonna have different sections, right? Because that's how websites work. You have like different content, right? So these little boxes are sections, right? Now, let's say that you want to allow the client to make changes, right? So if they want the ability to rearrange the content, then you can do that in Shopify. But then, right, that's not good enough, because of course it's not good enough. It's never good enough. They're like, okay, we want to make the same thing on a different page, right? But this time the page is like this, right? And they use like this one goes there, and then like this one they want to have down here, and then they also have like new ones too. They have like a big one actually, and then a little one down here, right? So it wouldn't make sense to just copy the entire like markup for it, right? You need the ability to like change the format. Here, let me mark this with the same color. So that's home. Let's say this is your product detail page. What the fuck did I do? Oh, okay, I figured it out. Okay, so this is your product detail page, right? And you want to reuse components between pages, right? You can rearrange things on the home page, but you can't rearrange things on the inner pages of the site. So excluding anything but the home page, you essentially don't have the ability to rearrange or even keep content different between pages unless you use blocks. Okay, so what are blocks? So let's actually expand this like a lot. So like by percentage, 400%. Okay, so imagine you want over here, you want same color. You want to have a page that has blocks, and I'll use this color to be like blocks. So now this is a block, and this is another block, right? Now, the thing with blocks is that you can embed them in sections, and you can also drag and drop like you can on the home page within a single section, right? So to review these things, and it might be helpful if I label them. This was 1, 2, 3, and 4 section, right? And then now this is just the 1 and the 3 down here, 3. So you've got a 1 and a 3 section, right? So now how do I make this 1, 3? That's the worst question mark ever. Same with that one. For these, right? Because I'm gonna have intermediate content here, just like I had on the PDP. This is the same page, so let me get something for that. This is still the PDP. Okay, so now we've moved over to PDP. And we want to keep this thing and also the skinny little thing down here. Maybe that's like their newsletter or something, sign up form. And then we'll label these again. So this will be green 1 and green 2. So still green 1, still green 2. Now how do we do this? And you might think, oh, well, I can just make the whole thing, since it has to be a section, I can just take this and basically make this a section. But this doesn't work because now I have this inner section that's specific to the product detail page that's showing in between these two blocks. And so the only way for me to do this, to create content that's specific to the page that wasn't on the home page, is to include it multiple times for every time it needs to be split up. And not to mention that within these sections right here, anytime I want to, basically if the client told me, let's say there was another one here, I'm not going to draw it, but let's say I took block 4 and I added it next to 3, and then, okay, great, 3 is right next to 4, so they can belong to the same section, the pink. So I don't have to include it multiple times in my template files. But what if they say, we actually want to wedge number 2, the green one, the one that's specific to the PDP, in between those two? Well, now I have to refactor everything so that it pulls in from 2 different sections again, just so that they can move one thing between another thing and a thing. So it's really fucked up because you essentially have no control over, even though you have blocks, you really don't have control, because as soon as you want to add new stuff to the page, it just like throws everything off the table. Like there's just no amount of like organization that you can achieve where it's possible to rearrange things freely. It's just not possible. So something that I've done is essentially made giant, like I'm talking giant sections that have like fuck tons of these. And I'm not going to draw them as, you know, rectangles because it takes too long, but just, you know, a lot of these things. Let's say there's like 12, right? And so now you've got this super section, this giant section. Now you can include that anywhere, and you can essentially have any amount of the blocks. You can rearrange them, and that's fine. We have already talked about how like as soon as you need custom content on that one page, then you have to split the same section into multiple sections, multiple includes of the same section, which is code reuse, which is bad. Okay, so that's number 1 here, and I'm gonna actually write this out. This will be easier. So the number 1 sin of Shopify, that was the color picker, which is not what I wanted. I want paintbrush. What is the hotkey for this? Okay, whatever. So number 1, and I'm gonna make this bigger. Number 1 is can't, I'm doing this with text, it's too much text. Can't put custom content between blocks in a section, which this problem originated from the fact that, and I'll put this in parentheses, problem because we can't move sections in inner pages. Okay, so that's the reason why, and I'll make this font smaller. Too small. Okay, so that's problem number 1, and then problem number 2 is coming up next. So you've got problem number 2, text. Okay. Fuck, what was problem number 2? Holy shit, I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, so you add a section, it's got a whole bunch of shit in it. And then, the fact that new templates new templates inherit previously styled, I'll just say previous settings. And then in our small font, until you clone the section. Okay, so problem number 2, right? So let's say I have this section, right? And I want to do this and copy it here, and then I want to have 2 different pages. So I have this page. Fuck. Oh my god, what is happening? Oh, I'm switching to the wrong tool. Okay, paintbrush. And so then I want to have this page. Oh god, it's so big. Can I have 6, please? This page, and I want to have this page, right? And let's say that I've got a thing in here that I want to turn red, right? And this affects component number 2. So now, if I'm copying the section directly from the same spot where the template gets it, then these 2 different pages are going to have the same settings. So they might want to have different content. This red could represent anything really. Maybe gray is better. So let's say that it's got like 3 dots here and 3 dots here, right? So I may want only 2 dots, right, of text. Let's say that these are blobs of text or paragraphs, if you want to think of it that way. I can't do that because these have essentially copied the same content from each other. So now in my code, I have to have a reference to I have to have a copy for this and a different copy for this, right? So 1 and 2. They're the same section, but I have to have a copy. The same is true here. So even if I were to split this up, I would have to have, I'm going to make this smaller because I drew these a lot smaller. I'm going to have 1 here, and then I'm going to have 2 here, and then I'm going to have 3 here. The reason why even on the same page I have to have 2 of the same, or 2 different ones, is because maybe they do decide later, hey, we want to inherit that big group of all of them that you added that didn't just include shit on the home page, but stuff for inner pages too. Yeah, that whole blob. Well, now actually I want a hero image from there at the top, and I also want a different one later. Well, they're technically the same block type, so you have to make a copy even in the same page. So it's fucked, right? Because you essentially, anytime the client wants to use something more than once, you have to duplicate it. And this is assuming they're not touching the home page, which is most of the time. So it's fucked up, and there's no real solution for it because it touches Shopify's backend for templates. So you can only have so much control before you have to like obey by Shopify's whim in order to like make shit work. And in terms of like difficulty, it's not, I guess, that bad to like have to duplicate a template, but it's not an autonomous like solution. It's not one where a client can just do it if they wanted to. If they want to build a new page, they have to contact a developer, or they need to have a custom app built that like will do this for them, and automatically publish and clone templates, which I should actually probably look into if that's been done before. But yeah, that's why Shopify is bad. Another thing, this is gonna be, yeah, fuck it. I'll just include this in this as well, if you're curious. So, new color. I want like a new color, something darker. Okay, cool. So in Shopify, right, within all of, so this is like an issue that's compounded by this, right? They're not necessarily related, but both of them together is kind of excruciating. So like all the time when you're working with templates and everything, you're using a language called Liquid, right? And Liquid, oh my god, Liquid is, wow, I hate the way that I drew. Oh, fun. I need that color back, thank you. Okay, better. Liquid is a templating language, and it has some features, but it's like tantalizingly close to having enough features to support complicated things that you're gonna need to do programmatic types of work in the templating language. And oftentimes, if you want to do something that's complicated enough, you basically just have to say, okay, fuck it, I can't use Liquid anymore. I have to drop in with Liquid a JS thing that will then take over and do JS work, because it's just like, it's too complicated for the Liquid to handle. So an example of this is like, let's say you want to iterate over like 3 things, and each time you iterate over the thing, it like pulls in different content, right? So you have like an array. Let's say you have an array of like, these are quotes, I don't want to make them big, A, B, and then you have C, right? So you have this array. I'll make them look more like quotes. Okay, cool. So, and you basically do this with, fuck, maybe I should just change to text, because this is going to be a lot. Give me a monospace font. Cascadia code. Semi-bold. 48. Yeah, there we go. Assign. Actually, that's too weird for me right now. Yeah, that works. Okay, so let's say I did assign array equals this thing, right? Oops. And this is a tag. So it's not really HTML, but anytime you're not in tag, you can just fucking do HTML, right? So you can do whatever outside of Liquid tags. But the thing that fucking sucks about Shopify is like their array features are fucking garbage. So like if you wanted anything that remotely looks like this, you have to come up with some like, and I'm gonna put a big strike through on this, right? A big like, fuck you, you can't do this. That's maybe too big, like 20. That's too long. Okay, there, that's better. So you can't do that. What you can do instead, and it makes me want to die inside, is you can do, fuck. Okay. You can say, assign pre-array, I guess you would call it, and then you would put in a string, right, with like some formatting, like some delimiters, right? So you might say like A, and keep in mind, this delimiter has to be as like arbitrary as imaginably possible, so that when they're fucking around with like what values could be in here, they're never entering them themselves. So maybe you do like dash dash ampersand, right? And that's your delimiter. Or usually dash dash is enough, but sometimes it's not. B dash dash C. So that's your pre-array. And now you have to split this pre-array by that character. So now you do more text again, and you would assign the actual array to pre-array, and everything programmatically in Liquid, like anything that you could imagine is like a function in Ruby behind the scenes, is just a filter. So you do pipe, split, and then arguments you put a colon, and then in quotes. Usually I like to do single quotes, not double quotes. Dash dash. And so just to get this array literal, I have to make, basically I have to create like a whole new variable and then split it. It sounds like a lot of bitching, and it is, but that's just to get the array literal. Then if you want to modify an array, oh my god. Okay, so if you want, do you want an array, but you want to put it at a specific index? Well, that means, and I'm being generous by just putting 3 elements in this array, right? It's hell if you need more. If I put assign oh my god, like how do you even say this? You have to assign pre-array again. I guess we can use the same variable, but now we essentially have to take every index and like put it back together with the things sandwiched in between, right? So let's say that I wanted to put like D, not at the end. I guess I'll just put D after like A, right? So I would put I would do array 0 append and then this is where D comes in. Append array 1. Oh wow, it really is too big to just put here, huh? Let's do like 26 and move it over. Append array 2. Now notice something about this array which is important. I don't actually know how long this array is unless I'm in the same file or I wrote the code myself. But if I'm just working and maintaining this code and I need to be able to put something in between an array or like, I don't know, do anything like remotely useful iterating over the array, everything is just fucking frustrating. So I don't know to stop at 2. I only know to stop at 2 because I know that it's length 3 because I wrote the array, right? But if I didn't have that knowledge, how would I know, right? And yeah, you can come in here and you can say, okay, so this is like a question, right? You're like, huh? Do I have to do this? Maybe? Okay, and then here's our kind of like trying to see the justification of this. So so what you can do, right, is you can say assign array length equals array size. So you can use a size filter and you can get the size of the array that way. But what do you do now? You have the size, but you still have to chain appends together to make the array. So you've essentially just removed the fact that you're, I guess, putting it all in one line, but you're still doing the same thing. So if I were to come down here and say like for item in array, and then I could say what's the best way to do this? If for loop dot index equals 1. It's just way massively complicated for this simple thing, right? I'm going to instead append. Oh, by the way, we're not even fucking done because guess what I need? Again, pre-array. I need to set pre-array to empty string. Oh, and look at that, I forgot a sign because fuck you. Pre-array is an empty string, right? So I had to do that before this. And now in here I can say assign pre-array equals pre-array append thing. Oh, actually, that's not what I do. What I do is I assign the other thing. That happens after. So, oops. Wow, I can't copy that text? Well, that sucks. Assign pre-array equals pre-array append D. End if. End for. So in 6 lines, I just did the same thing as this, but I didn't have to guess how long it is. And actually, it's not 6 because I also had to take one step to get the array size. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so you actually don't need the array size. I'm wrong about that because you can just use a for loop. So let me just put a bunch of white right there. But you do need this. Have to do this. Okay, so you have to reset, or if you don't have one already, assign a pre-array variable to nothing. For every item in the array, you have to append the thing and then also append the item, right? So it comes first. So the index in this case would be the indice that you actually want to insert it at and not after, because you're assigning first and not after. So yeah, and then you look at this and then you say, okay, well, was that worth it? Because I essentially made it more programmatic, where I'm not hard coding values in here. But if I know I can get the job done in one giant line instead of having to type all this, I'm probably going to do this. So and by the way, there's other issues with Liquid, and I could go on for hours probably about other stuff that's fucked up in Liquid, like the fact that there's no map function, really. There's a map function, but it only pulls things out of arrays and it doesn't do anything with them. Like you can't pipe a function to it or something. You can't do any of that. So a million things wrong with Liquid. This is like one thing, and then you have to do this, deal with all of that while you're trying to deal with like the architectural problems of Shopify. So it's cursed. Thanks if you listen to the whole fucking riot, I guess. Bye.